You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen shop press listings, see the glossy photos, read the 75-ton headline and think, this is exactly what my garage needs, only to discover after the first press that the machine is either too bulky for the space you have, or it just won't bite because your air compressor can't keep up. I've been there, and I've also watched a few friends make that same mistake, ending up with a piece of equipment that gathers dust instead of helping them finish projects. That's why I'm breaking down the Baileigh 75-ton pneumatic shop press, HSP 75A, in a way that goes beyond the spec sheet, so you can decide if it's the right fit before you spend a big chunk of money. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, this press isn't a one-size-fits-all deal. It's a frame machine built for serious metalworking, automotive restoration, and small shop fabrication where you regularly need to flatten, shape, or bend thick stock. The 31.5-inch working width gives you a decent amount of real estate for larger panels, and the 9-inch diameter cylinder with a 9.8-inch stroke means you can move a substantial amount of material in one go. If you're the kind of person who spends weekends welding a custom roll cage or a hobbyist who wants to press a 2-inch steel plate for a project car, that travel length can shave minutes off each operation. But the press is also a fairly large piece of equipment. It sits on a solid steel base that weighs well over 100 pounds, and you'll need enough floor space not just for the frame, but for the winch and pulley system that Baileigh includes to help lift and lower the working tab. In a cramped garage, you'll probably have to rearrange tools or even sacrifice a workbench. That's a trade-off you can't ignore. The size and weight give the machine stability and durability, but they also demand a dedicated spot in your shop. One of the first practical concerns people raise is the air supply. This press requires a compressor that can deliver between 90 and 115 psi. If you already have a compressor that runs a few air tools, you might find yourself pushing it to its limit. I've heard from shop owners who had to upgrade to a 5 HP rotary screw unit just to keep the press cycling smoothly without the compressor overheating. On the flip side, if you already run a decent air system for paint booths or sandblasters, the press slots right in without demanding a whole new investment. Control is another area where Baileigh tries to be flexible. The integrated foot pedal lets you engage the press with one foot while your hands stay free to position the workpiece. In my experience, that setup feels natural when you're doing repetitive tasks. Think of a production line where you're pressing dozens of brackets in a row. If you prefer a more delicate, slower approach, there's a manual hand pump you can attach. That's handy when you're working with thin sheet metal and need fine adjustments. You can inch the cylinder forward without the full force of the pneumatic system, which reduces the risk of overpressing and ruining the part. The winch and pulley system is a practical feature that many first-time buyers overlook. When you're dealing with a 75-ton press, the moving ram can be heavy, and manually guiding it up and down would be a workout. The winch does the heavy lifting for you, and the pulley reduces the effort needed to lower the ram back after a press. In real use, I've seen it cut down the cycle time on a batch of brake rotors by about 20%, something you can actually feel in a shop that's trying to hit production quotas. Now, who should actually consider putting this machine in their shop? If you regularly work with material thicker than a 1/4 inch, need to form structural components, or you're a small business fabricator that takes on custom jobs, the 75-ton capacity is a genuine asset. The press can handle heavy-duty tasks like straightening bent frames, forming exhaust manifolds, or even pressing large bearings into housings jobs where a smaller benchtop press would simply give out. It also makes sense for automotive hobbyists who have moved beyond the repair-thebotopinal stage and are now building custom chassis or roll cages. Conversely, if your work revolves around light-duty projects, say, pressing small brackets, working with sheet metal under a 1/2 inch thick, or you're a hobbyist who only occasionally needs to flatten a piece of metal, this press is probably overkill. You'll still need to accommodate its footprint, and you'll be paying for a capacity you'll never truly use. In that case, a smaller 30-ton hydraulic press or even a manual press could meet your needs at a fraction of the price and with far less setup hassle. Speaking of price, the Baileigh HSP 75A lands in the higher-end bracket for pneumatic shop presses. The justification, beyond the headline 75-ton rating, is the industrial-grade hydraulics and the overall engineering that aim for years of smooth operation. Those hydraulics mean